Hey, everybody. I am so excited today because we are doing a case study on the amazing and talented Katti Power, who wrote a best-selling book that launched February 14th, Valentine's Day, and it's called, turns out, I'm Hot After All. And it might not be exactly what you think it is, but it kind of is. And I'm going to let Katti tell you a little bit about her. So quick intro, can you tell the people, all your fans, who
Yes,
you are?
absolutely. I'm Katti Power, and I am in Las Vegas. I am a performance coach. I've been in the entertainment industry for 20 years, and I've recently started shifting into a different market of people, bringing what I did with my performers, the big, huge, amazing goals I brought to my performers, I'm bringing to the world of coaching executives, people that need a little bit of a power up.
Yeah.
So kind of the stuff we're talking about in my book.
Exactly. So I would love for you to share a little bit about like when we met and what your original idea was and what you changed it to.
Absolutely. So, when we first met, we are in a mastermind together, and Vickie was talking about this program that she has called 4-Hour Author. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? 4-Hour Author? I can write a book in 4 hours? Because I had this book kind of stewing in my mind. And I thought, wow, I can write it in 4 hours, because I think the reason I hadn't yet begun it is that I have a million things, a million plates spinning at once. And the idea of writing a book was like, well, that's a luxury that'll happen later. And, but 4-Hour Author was appealing to me. So I was like, hey, I think I need to know more about this. And we hopped on a call, and my original thought was, I have been going through a separation since the end of August of 2019. And my original thought was that my book was going to be a little bit about the story of how that happened, but mostly online dating in my 40s during a pandemic and how crazy it's been, after being married for almost 2 decades. So that's what I was originally going to write it about. And then as we talked, Vickie said, okay, you shouldn't write it like that. I was like, what? And she said, there is a connection to your business. I know there is. And I was like, and in the middle of our conversation, I was able to realize that the way that I healed from being left by him was by following the same steps that I took my clients through. And I sort of took it for granted because it's so much a part of the work that I do and who I am that I just took it for granted that that's what I did. But the more, because she started out by saying, okay, I don't really know what you do, but can you describe to me what you do? And tell me again about how this divorce thing happened. And so when I explained all that, she was like, so it sounds like you used your own work to get better. And I was like, I did.
But isn't it so true that we take it for granted? Like what we do, we take it for granted, or like the process that we go through, we just do it.
Yes.
And we don't realize how much of those things, like everyday life, we do these things that we don't give credit to. And that's
Yeah, and there are things
our
that
genius.
people pay me to help them figure out, but it's so much a part of who I am that I
Mhm.
did it without even realizing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a huge aha for me. And so,
Yeah, I
she's
remember I was
Vickie's
like, I don't see how you don't see how this and I remember thinking, okay, I hope that doesn't sound really offensive to her.
no, it didn't at all, but it was a major like you're saying, we take it for granted. We don't realize it. And I think that's what happened with me. And, the last thing I wanted was for the book that I was planning to write to just be because it because it wasn't benefiting
Yeah.
my business. And so the other thing about it was shifting it into being a story about how I healed from being left by him by
Mhm.
following my own coaching steps.
Yeah.
It became a tool for my business.
Yeah.
So instead of being this fluffy thing that was going to go nowhere and be useless, it became this tool to help me in my business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes people misunderstand when I say your memoir is the enemy of your business book success, but really, this is like the best example right here where, Katti has a really great story, right? And that's the thing that you wanted to share. You really wanted to share how you got over it, how you bounced back so quickly, and all those things. But there was so much more to it than that. So the memoir is actually like people shortchanging themselves and not realizing that their expertise needs to go into that story too. Because, I'm all about the story. The stories are the thing that makes it so juicy. And that's the feedback that you've been getting, right? From your book is like, people can't put it down and the stories are so great. And so tell me a little bit about the feedback, and then we'll go back to like how you wrote it in 3 weekends while pet sitting.
The feedback has been really incredible. It's everything from, while this is helping me with my personal life, to I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through this because it's hitting home so closely, to this is a practical step, whether you're practical, like step-by-step system, whether you're going through a breakup or not, it doesn't even matter. This is a way to feel empowered and feel like you can do this. And so that there's just been a whole lot of awesome people are getting all kinds of results just from reading it. And, a lot of those people are people that love me and bought it to support me, that were like, wait a minute, this is really good. Which has been awesome. And, and then on the business side of things, I booked 3 speaking gigs and 7 podcasts. Like in the first 2 weeks after it launched.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. I didn't know about the 3 speaking gigs. I knew about the 7 podcasts. So it sounds like the transformation and what you wanted the readers to get out of the book is really happening for them.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I've been gathering. So
yay, 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 yay. Okay, so the part that I think a lot of people would love to hear about is because what's the biggest concern when writing a book? I don't have time. I don't have time. Where am I going to fit this in? Where am I going to fit this in? You did this in 3 weekends while pet sitting.
Yes.
There's a great story that goes with it. So tell everybody.
It's so weird too, how this all lines up. Yeah. So I have this family, they're actually moving away, and I was just there yesterday visiting them and saying my goodbyes. So it's just kind of weird that this is all happening today too. But after talking to Vickie and deciding, okay, I'm doing this, I had a weekend scheduled to be pet sitting at their place. They have this sweet little pup named Lily that I love. And I love this place. It just feels like a relaxing, just homey, awesome place. Anyway. And I knew that because I was pet sitting, that I was going to be sort of not stranded, but like in a place where I didn't have a whole lot of, opportunity to get distracted by other things, because my job was to take care of this puppy. And so I thought this is a perfect time for me to write my book. And I went into this, it was a 3-day weekend, and I went into it like, I'm going to write the whole book this weekend. That was my goal. That didn't happen. However, I got through a good half of it. And I was bummed, being the high achiever that I am. I was bummed that I didn't finish it.
You didn't finish it over 3 weekends. That's funny.
Over the first weekend, yeah. So
yeah.
So then I went. Then a couple of, I think it was about a month later, I had to be there again for a really long weekend. And I was like, okay, I'm going to finish my book this weekend. And I did most of it. I have this one chapter that's really big. And so I made a couple of tweaks to it. And then the third weekend, I finished it and then sent it off to the editor. And that all happened at their place. So every time that I was working on my book, it was at their place because they kept going out of town. And then my launch also happened at their place. I happened to be there while my book was launching. So it was really wild to me. But so I wrote it over 3 separate weekends.
Yeah. And what made it so easy for you to do that in 3 weekends?
Yeah. That would be your 4-hour author course that I took. The 4-hour author course was phenomenal and changed my life. We basically created a structure. And here's the thing that just blew my mind. It's a structure, but there were, I don't know, 8 of us in that class, and we all were writing on vastly different topics.
Mhm.
But the structure was unique to each of us. And
Yep.
Vickie showed us how to set up your book in a way that when you go to write it, it's practically a fill in the blank. And that just, it made it so easy. So I never sat down and thought, what am I going to write about? Or I never thought, well, what part of the story are we on now? Like, it was just because it was there.
Yeah.
It was just I had a structure. I had figured out what stories I was going to tell in which chapters and what pieces of my system I was going to bring into the talking points, and it was all outlined so that when I went to write it, it felt to me like a fill in the blank.
Yeah, and I think for you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was about the clarity. Once you had that aha about the memoir and what you really wanted to share and how that was going to be laid out in the book, then that's when it started to just fall out of your head.
Yes, it just made sense all of a sudden. And I will say, part of the reason it took 3 weekends instead of 2 weekends is because
It's so funny.
I did what you're not supposed to do, and I went back and read it and was like, and it felt a little textbooky, and I wanted it to feel more easy to read. And so I did go back
Yeah.
and revise from the beginning,
Yeah.
and before continuing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why.
That is a mistake that people make. It's easy to get
Yes.
into that mistake because you want to read over it and you want to see if it was good. And then you go around and editing and editing and editing. I had this one client who did that so much that they couldn't get past more than 10 pages.
Oh gosh, no.
Because they kept going back, and it would be like, let me change the sentence structure from now you can XYZ to you can now XYZ. And it's like moving that word
Wow.
doesn't even do any there's no difference
No.
in it. It has no bearing on the transformation, but
Yeah.
it's so easy to get swirled around in let me keep editing, keep editing, keep editing. And then also, some people will get real close to the last chapter. So when you got real close to finishing it, did stuff come up for you like, oh
Oh,
crap,
yes.
now it's gonna be done? What happened?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It took me forever to write the last chapter. Forever. And I don't know if it's that I didn't want it to be over. I don't know if it was becoming real and scary. I still haven't totally identified why that last chapter plagued me so much, but it was rough. Yeah. So those first 2 weekends, I basically wrote all the chapters except the last one. And then the last weekend was me going, okay, are we doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to Carol Joyce Oates. I think I've said this before, where I think it was her. Oh, maybe it was Dan Balducci. Anyway, one of the authors said, that sometimes it's hard to finish the book because once you're done, now you got to put it out there. If you never
Yes.
finish, then you can still sit in there. Well, I'm not quite done yet, and I don't have to get judged, and I don't have to get the feedback in case somebody doesn't like it. And I mean, just look at your smile. Everybody has loved it so far.
Yes.
And even people in the Easy Writer program who's with you are like, oh my gosh, I'm gobbling this up. And I'm getting messages saying, because I read Katie's book, I'm changing this.
What?
Yes, I've gotten multiple messages from your colleagues in the program saying, I read this and I really think I need to do this instead. So I'm like, guys, you don't have to all be like Katie, but this is amazing. And we all get to be ourselves, but yes, I'm getting comments like that. Yeah.
Thanks,
So
guys.
tell us about Bestseller Launch Day. What did you think and have planned out versus what actually happened.
Well, I'm going to preface this by saying clarity is very important in all things. I had a vision of what Bestseller Day was going to be like, but I neglected to tell anyone about what my vision was because I somehow thought that people were just going to do whatever I asked them to do in this way. So I didn't think I needed to, I guess, but but I had imagined getting up and like having almost like some kind of virtual ribbon cutting, like, okay, now go buy it, you know? But I didn't share that with anyone, including my fantastic assistant, who went ahead and changed my Facebook banner with the link at midnight. So, and it was the one night that I decided I'm going to bed so
Yeah.
I can get up and, be refreshed for this. So I didn't even know until the morning. And I was like, I woke up. Well, I woke up to a message from Vickie. He was saying, like, you're already bestseller. You're number 7 here and you're number 2 here. And I was like, huh? What? I haven't even started. I'm still in bed.
Yeah, you stayed in your bed until like lunchtime.
Yes, because I had all these messages from people asking questions and saying, I bought your book and all this stuff. And so I was responding to all these messages and, people asking me, where can I get it? I want to buy your book. Isn't it now? Where do I get, and I was just like, and it was overwhelming. And, so I kind of worked from bed, until about 11-ish in the morning, but by then it had already happened.
Yeah.
And I was just floored by the whole process. So, you helped me pick out the best categories for my book to go in.
Yep.
And there were 2. We're supposed to pick 2. And before 10 a.m., I already suddenly I had a 3rd category. I didn't really understand how that happened, but I guess Amazon assigned me a 3rd category.
Mm-hmm.
And then within those categories, you have hot new releases and you have bestseller, which is the top 100.
Yeah.
And I managed to, by some point in the day, make number 1 in all 6.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Number 1. So I woke up a bestseller, but I made it to number 1 in all 6 of those. And what was really fun and cool, that someone else had to point out to me, was that I beat David Sedaris in one category and I beat Kathy Lee Griffin in another.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? Pretty awesome.
It happened because I'm on the East Coast. So your VA changed your cover at my 3 a.m.
Yes.
I got up at 8. And by 8:30, I had checked, I think, or 9 o'clock-ish, I had checked. So it was really 6 hours that you became a best-selling author. Now, for those of you who think best-selling author is just number 1, let's clear that. It's on Amazon, it's ranking 100 or better. So all the books 1 through 100 are considered their bestsellers. But like most of my people, you hit number 1. But Katti did it in 9 hours.
Yeah.
By lunchtime. My lunchtime, not your lunchtime, my lunchtime. And the hardest part is, I think, that because you want to continue selling books that day because it's a big launch and you told everybody and not everybody's bought, and there's people on other sides of the world internationally, because she made international bestseller too.
Yes.
So because of all the time differences and all that stuff, you want people to keep buying and keep sharing. And you had a lot of people sharing as well.
Yes.
We don't actually tell people that you hit number 1. And I think that's the hardest part. Where it's a secret until tomorrow. We can just say thanks to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
The hardest part is like, shh, keep buying the book. I need more sales, guys. Keep going.
Well, because I wanted to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, you're still ranked bestseller right now.
Yes.
And it
Mhm.
is March, and your book was out in February, and it's
Yes.
still in the top 100. I think today I looked, and it was 35. But
That's
I was only
exciting.
one category. I didn't check the others. I just like real quickly. So you might be
Yeah.
higher on the other
Yeah,
one.
I actually haven't looked in quite some time.
Yeah. Some of my people do stay like in that number 1 through like 10-ish spot for a while. And then, it will start going down as,
Mhm.
as time goes on. But yeah. All right,
How
cool.
exciting.
Yeah. Was amazing. So was there anything that I missed that you think people need to know about writing their book, becoming a bestseller, anything?
Yeah, well, no, I don't think you missed anything, but I'd love to add.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, I think the thing that so many people, because even in the process of doing it, I heard from people saying, "You're writing a book? What? How?" Like, people were just like, because it seems like this big, huge, like, "I'm never gonna be able to do that," kind of thing.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm proof that it does not take very long to do it. When you're clear about what it is you have to say,
Mhm.
you can do it really quickly. And I think something that you say a lot that I'm just gonna steal because I think it's amazing is, if you don't feel like you have time to write a book, it's exactly why you need to do this program that Vickie has to offer, because she
Mhm.
shows you how to do it when you don't have time so that you can get it done. And I'm someone who, like I said, I'm working on my workaholism. But I work a lot of hours, and I have a lot of things going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm going through a divorce all on top of all of that. And
Mhm.
so my time is not, I don't have a whole lot of time, which is why I used weekends. But
Mhm.
it's completely, totally doable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I like I said, I feel like if I can do it with my insane schedule, um, then you can too. And I think the other thing that I would say about it is, once once I got out of the memoir mindset,
Mhm.
it it amped up my why.
Mm.
It made it that much more important to me to write this book, because it was like, there are people that can benefit from this, including my business can benefit from this. But there are people out there that need to hear what I have to say,
Yeah.
what I went through, how I did this. There are people that are struggling all the time, and it
Mhm.
just lit a fire under my why
Mhm.
I needed to get this done.
Yeah. And the proof is in the feedback that you're already getting too,
Yeah,
right? And the
yeah,
lives that you're changing and the hearts that you're touching with the story. There's really two different types of writer. One is like you, who's like, I just want to set aside weekends and let me have chunks of time and let me finish a thing. And
yeah.
then there are the other people who are like, let me just portion it out little by little, kind of like the whole how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So you take a bite every day until you're all done. Um, and really the process works for either type of person.
Absolutely.
It's just that you need to decide. And here's the thing too, that like it's just a pet peeve in the coaching industry for me, that it's like, this is how I did it, so this is how you have to do it.
Yeah,
Right?
no.
And I'm so a proponent of like, let's see who you are. Let's see what is going on in your life. And let's figure out what's the best way for you to finish this book so that it feels like it's easy and it flows and it's, all
Yeah,
of that stuff. And I think too, the thing that you really embraced, um, and this is what like my top clients do, right? They embrace this whole idea of I'm a bestseller already. And I have the
yeah.
mindset of that bestseller. And so when I sit down to write, I'm writing as if I am a bestseller, because a bestseller doesn't sit down and go, oh my gosh, I don't have time. I don't know what to say. And maybe this or that and stare out the window. Okay, maybe they do sometimes, but you know what they have that confidence, and I think you attacked it in that way. Attack. You attacked it in that way, and I think that's why you were so successful too. I
Thank
felt like you went through the process with joy. Is that
Oh, yes, definitely. it was it was absolutely a joyful experience for me, and it was surreal the whole time. Like when I wrote my preface, I was like, I just wrote this thing that starts my book, and like after writing a whole chapter, I'd be like, oh my God, I wrote a whole chapter, and it just, I never saw myself as being a writer like that. And it was so surreal. And then, when I remember making a post saying, I just sent my book off to the editor, and I was like, what did I just do? What? And like that just felt so foreign and surreal and odd. And, being like, well, my book launches on Sunday. I was just like, what am I saying? The whole thing just felt so, and at the same time, yes, I was absolutely owning from the beginning, because your program says, we're going to go through this and we're going to launch it to bestseller. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be a bestseller, and that's cool. And I just kind of took that for granted. I just want to say also about the doing it your way versus, doing it your own way kind of thing. I did go to your writing times in the mornings.
Yeah.
But because I'm that kind of person, my someday he'll be my ex-husband used to always say, she's the kind of girl who puts up the whole Christmas tree all at once, where he would like take a couple days to make it all happen. And I'm just not that person.
Yeah.
I'm a like do the whole project all at once, even if you're up till midnight kind of person.
Yeah.
And so doing the writing times, because we had scheduled writing times every other week, I think.
Mhm.
I went to them, but it didn't work for me, because I felt like I needed to go back and reread where I was just to get back in my groove.
Mhm.
And so I ended up writing about a paragraph in
Yeah.
all of those, because I just don't work that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was, but I still went. And sometimes I went and I did the more marketing side of it, or I
Mhm.
did some of the other pieces of the process that were not the actual writing when I
Yep.
went.
Yep.
Just because I needed to be in that kind of accountability, but that's just an example of the kind of, we are different people. We all do things differently. And that's why I did it that way.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad that you modified it for what you needed, right?
Yeah.
Because the reason I added those writing times weren't even in there a year ago. They weren't even something that I offered, but people kept saying, I'm not setting aside the time. I will
Yeah.
set aside the time and then I'll do something else, right? And so this way I thought, okay, if we have these scheduled, then people will feel, more accountable, and they'll feel like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what is going to keep me at a certain pace. And
Yes.
so, obviously they're optional for people.
Yeah.
But
But
I
it was
do feel
so
like,
valuable to me to stay on track
yeah,
in that
that's
way.
exactly it. So whether you're doing something from the module or the marketing or the writing, it helps keep you to be, like you said, on track.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing too that sets you apart, like sets people apart in general. Those who finish books and those who don't. It's about the accountability to yourself,
Yeah.
or to a program, or the commitment and dedication. It's the decision, the choice that you're like, okay, it's like what you said. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a bestseller. And you just owned it from the start
Mhm.
because you had that confidence and you knew that was going to happen. And so you wrote to that end versus
Yeah.
all the like, I know we can swirl around in all the what ifs, you know?
I think also you had the confidence. I think
Yeah.
you being like, "Yeah, we're gonna launch this to bestseller," and I was like, "Okay." Like, it was just a matter of fact. There was no like, "And then maybe if we're lucky," it was
Right, right.
it was very, you were very sure. And so I was like, "All right, that's what we're doing.
Good.
Plan."
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So what is up next? I know you said you had 3 speaking gigs, 7 podcasts. What else is up next for Katti Power?
I am launching my program that I talk about in my book, which is basically a modification of what I've been doing the past 20 years, but in a slightly different different way. And so that's going to be launching the week of April 19th. And
Yay.
so I'm in the process of doing all the things necessary to get that out there.
Awesome. All right, cool. And what if somebody's out there going, oh my gosh, she just seems like she's got it all together and she had this all figured out. And it sounds so easy. I don't know if I can do this, but I really want to have a book. What would you tell those people?
I would say to trust yourself and to trust the process, and absolutely get Vickie's help.
I didn't even pay her to say that, but thank you.
No, but I'm serious because there's no way that I would have been able to do this without your classes, um, or your guidance. There's no way. I leaned on you hardcore. And I'm not good at asking for help. Just know that also. I'm terrible at it. But I leaned in, and I think that's what's required.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
That's why it's called Easy Writer,
Yeah.
right?
It's a perfect name.
Yeah, yeah. You know, what's funny is like, when you do the dictations and stuff, it always wants to translate it to Easy Writer, which is, the play on words that it
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
So I've had to really easy write, or like, I think
Sure.
now I over enunciate because of that whole thing. But
Right.
yeah, if anybody out there, if you're watching and you're interested, message me. We can get on a call. I can send you the link. I might drop it down below so that you guys can check it out to see the programs that Katti was in that got her to bestseller in 9 stinking hours after 3 weekends of pet sitting.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. So thanks, Katti, for sharing your experience and being on. I'm so excited to see what's going to happen with your book. I just see so many people already having their lives changed, and you've done so well with it. So
Thank you
thank
so
you for
much.
sharing. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.